Out in some parallel universe, little autistic children grew up to become self-advocates, but before they did, they had no idea how inspiring they would become. But one day this happened. More powerful, more inspiring, more motivating, and more educational than ever before. Autistic self-advocates gather for a panel discussion on autism self-advocacy this 26th day of February 2016, able to educate teachers and parents about the autism spectrum disorder and to inspire young children and teens with autism to become self-advocates, to bring change to the community, speaking for ourselves rather than those trying to speak for us. We proudly present Autism Self-Advocacy!
There are several people here I recognize, but many people I do not recognize, so that's great, bringing in a new set of people. I wanted to let folks know a little bit about the Atlanta Autism Consortium if you don't know. There's a brochure in the back here that gives a little bit of description and will point you to our website. We started in 2008 as a collection of researchers around Atlanta that were working in the area of autism but didn't know each other all that well. It quickly expanded to beyond the research institution. So there's people at Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Emory, the CDC that all do research in the area of autism. But there's also lots of people that provide services in Atlanta, affiliated with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, the Emory Autism Center, the Marcus Autism Center, the variety of schools affiliated with Floor Time Atlanta, like we have people from the community school here, we've had people from Lionheart, people from Jacob's Ladder have come here, we have people from the public schools. Our agenda basically has become over the last few years to try to bring together all the different stakeholder communities that are interested in autism and get them to know each other better and to discuss topics of relevance across all those communities. So simply put, what the consortium is trying to do is what no single organization has the desire or ability to do. We're trying to link together all these different communities. You can learn a little bit more about it in this brochure here. There's some other handouts back there that were strategically placed next to the pizza so as to draw your attention. But we have the outline for today's event. One of the stakeholder communities that the consortium has always wanted to engage but has not done nearly as well as they've done tonight, I'd say, is to connect to the individuals with autism, the adolescents and the adults. And we have a renewed commitment, thanks to these people up here are going to be presenting, to try to create a variety of activities and events that are getting at what adults need in the community. So this is the agenda for today. Something else I want to draw your attention to is that the state of Georgia is running an autism it's called the 2016 Autism Conference and Exposition of Georgia that will be held in Peachtree City. We are providing at least 4, but maybe up to 6, maybe even more scholarships, travel scholarships for people to attend the conference and connect with even more people around the state. If you are interested in applying for one of these scholarships, which will pay for the hotel, it's a 2-day event, so it will pay for registration to the event and hotel, and I think enough to pay for transportation down there. Please pick up one of these and consider applying. Ampere can answer any more questions. The deadline for application
20th, March 20th.
Right, by March 20th.
March 20th.
As it says clearly on the flyer that you will get.
So it's very simple. You just have to send a CV, whatever form of CV, resume you have, and a small statement to say why do you want to attend the conference, why is it going to beneficial you, and that's very simple. So you're going to send that to me, and then I spread it to the committee. And it's for everybody, okay? Neurotypical as well as individual with autism, okay? Last year we had 6 fellowships, and we had 2 individuals with autism who won 2 of these fellowships, okay? What question, email me.
Last, there's a sheet that has a list of events that the consortium either wants the community to know about. We haven't organized them, but we want you to know about them, or ones that we have organized ourselves or have been helped to organize. Speaking to the people my age, if you remember the Mary Tyler Moore show, you guys remember Lou Grant? Right? Ed Asner is going to be the featured speaker when the CDC does their April Big Autism Awareness event. He'll be speaking Thursday night, April 21st, and the following day there'll be a special event. I believe it's going to be on the campus of Emory, just for the consortium to talk with Ed Asner and fathers and grandparents of individuals with grandfathers of individuals with autism. Ed Asner, his son has a child with autism, so he's a grandparent with autism, but there are other events there. So, without any further ado, what I'm going to do is introduce the moderator for today's panel. Laura Nadine is a increasingly well-known advocate for autism, an extremely accomplished musician, and a trainer of musicians as well. And I'll let you give any other embellishment and introduce the panel and take it away. The only other thing I'll say is there are a lot of people here that have not been here before. We want to engage the audience in discussion, so I would ask, at least the first time, if you want to say something, if you could just give a quick introduction of yourself so we get to know each other. Thank you, Laura.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I hope everyone had a nice Friday. Speaking of Fridays, I know that's how it can be very rushed. I'm sure everybody was on a tight schedule trying to get here, so I thought we'd just take a minute. Everybody just breathe, kind of settle into the moment. Leave your expectations outside, because today is going to blow any expectation out of the water that you've ever had before. I want you to really settle into the moment. Kind of, if you need to, close your eyes. Focus on your breathing. Feel yourself sitting in the chair. And really pull yourself into focus, because we really have something absolutely amazing for you tonight. You're going to get to do something that most people don't get to do in the autism world. And that's actually hear about the experiences of autism from people on the spectrum. When we say the word spectrum, a lot of us really think about worst to least, or higher to lower, or more severe to less severe. But I'd like to reframe that for you tonight. I want you to actually think about spectrum like you think about light. If light shines through a prism, it breaks up into a bunch of different color lights. Is one color better than the other? Is one lesser than the other? Does any color mean anything over one other color? Is red more beautiful than blue? And it really doesn't have a meaning until we assign it, right? A red light tells you to stop. But all the colors are beautiful. Think of the spectrum today, and the spectrum of adults that you're going to hear from as being more like this. The only thing they have in common is the fact that they are from the same prism. But each person is going to be different. So let's start at this end of the table. We're going to allow everybody to introduce themselves. Maya?
So my name is Maya Sundermeyer, and I work at the Center for Leadership and Disability, which is housed in the School of Public Health, Georgia State University. And I'm a project and research assistant. And the next thing that I do is I also have a series of blogs on YouTube, and after the end of the panel, I will have to share them with you because I have a bunch of blogs.
Hi, I'm Ben Gaddis, and I run the Atlanta chapter of the Autistic Self-Advocacy Center.
My name is Sunny Donnellan. I was born in 1996, was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. I love anime, cosplay, and YouTube. I graduated high school at Georgia Cyber Academy in 2015 and started a vlog channel called Sunny D Girls. I also work at the British School of Monroe, Georgia, a school for children with special needs, ages 2 through 17. I am an autistic self-advocate in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I am 19 years old and
Even though I graduated from Georgia Public now Georgia State with an associate's in science and art, I work part-time at Publix in Tucker Bagger, and I'm also working with both rehab and most recently disability leave on job training.
My name is Sean Perkins. I'm a self-advocate. I'm working 2 jobs at the moment, both part-time. My one is at the Legoland Discovery Center, Atlanta, in Buckhead, at Phipps Plaza. I'm an entertainment host of sorts there, and I'm also a mentor slash paraprofessional at Hirsch Academy in Decatur. And that's how I stay. That's one of the ways I stay connected to the autism community, and also with my involvement through the Atlanta Autism Consortium, and with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network as well.
Especially over this
My name is Eren Niederhofer. In 2012, I became the first autistic to graduate from my university in the honors program. Ever since, my goal has been about pushing the limits of what autists can do with their potential. From working as a data mining advisor in the financial sector, to setting up a video channel, to host the advocacy videos of self-advocates, to being able to train self-advocates and tap into their own potential. My goal is to see through the limitless potential that autistics have tapped within them and bring it out to the world. Starting right here, well, before that, you're just one step in the way, but you're along for the ride.
Guys, your seatbelt, everybody.
For those of you that have sensory issues, you can go like this instead of clapping your hands.
That would be much appreciated, or you could always tap your fingertips, like I do.
Or your knuckles.
All right, so we have a couple of questions that we're going to cover tonight. All right, my Shakespeare voice is all right, so a couple of things we're going to cover. What is autism self-advocacy? Why is autism self-advocacy important or needed? Why are autism self-advocates, or what are autism self-advocates advocating for? That is a mouthful of sentence right there. And how can the community support ASD individuals? So we'll take these one at a time. I was thinking, if it was okay with you guys, that we'll go through the questions, allow the panelists to answer. Think of anything that you'd like to ask, pen it down, and when we finish all 4 questions, then we'll start taking questions from everyone else. This will give everybody on the panel time to process and think without having to switch gears and take in what's coming in from the crowd. Okay, so we'll head right on to questions. We want to try to get to everybody. First question is, what is autism self-advocacy? Panelists, if your cards, you have your color cards, right? Green means you want to answer?
Yes.
Use the mic.
Maya?
Thank you, Amy, or Ms. Laura. Well, basically, that is a really hard question, but I will answer it as simple as possible, or as direct. You know, first of all, it's very broad. There's a lot to cover under autism self-advocacy. And self-advocacy doesn't just apply to individuals on the autism spectrum. But what it entails is standing up for your rights and learning how to speak up for yourself, and learning to discern the difference between right and wrong, and learning to tell other people what you need and stand up for what you believe in.
All right. To me, and me and my mom were just talking about this last night, self-advocacy is pleading for one's case in front of the judges of society. So, advocacy is pleading for one's case, but self-advocacy is pleading for your own case, and it is communicating with others our diagnosis and advantages and disadvantages of having autism or any disability. It encompasses different life skills and communication skills such as getting help and the support we need to succeed in life. Thank you.
So you really like the choice advantages versus disadvantages. I like those words. Those are great words.
I'm Brittany, and my belief on self-advocacy is that you keep on fighting for what you believe, and until you get it, like for example, like me trying to get one guy to go to the Georgia State to do autism training there. I won't stop fighting for that until that happens.
So part of advocacy is persistence.
Yes.
I agree.
See if I can get this thing to work. Okay. So anyway, it's hard for me to, that's a tough act to follow right there, but I'll just keep this as simple as I can in saying that autism self-advocacy is more simply is the empowerment to speak for what you and others who share what your kind of life experiences, what they want and what you want as well. Giving yourself a voice if you feel that those speaking for you aren't doing a good enough job.
Well, everyone's definitely got their own perspective. Each one definitely fills a big piece of the puzzle. In my perspective, autism self-advocacy is an ongoing process in which we take the experiences in our life, both positive and negative, and present them to whoever is our audience, whether they be people on the spectrum, the neurotypical population, educated individuals regarding autism, and try to teach a message of who we are and what we want and what we are about. It takes many forms, it gives many messages to different people, despite the culmination of people being there. But it's mainly our ability to face an audience and basically give a voice to ourselves rather than those who are trying to speak for us. Loud noises this time.
The common theme then that I think I'm hearing is that everybody believes it's not just about being aware that autism exists, but also in all of those small pieces of what we need in order for the playing field to be level, so that we can own businesses and work where we want to or get an education. Right. Great. Did you want to add one more thing, Ryan? Oh, good.
So yes, I did want to add one more thing, and again, I'll be as brief as possible. So basically, what Eren was saying and what Brittany was saying and what everybody along the list is saying. What? Excuse me for freezing. Maybe I'm a little nervous. What? I'd like to give an example. So I most recently got I got a letter in the mail, letting me know that it was my turn for jury duty, and some other friends of mine that are on the autism spectrum, like myself, and they live with their parents, and they are basically being coddled, and they have different beliefs than I do. And basically, they believe that because I'm autistic, I don't belong on a jury because A, I talk too much, and B, they don't believe that I won't be able to understand anything. So self-advocacy doesn't mean that you just write letters to our legislatures, and it doesn't mean that we write letters to officials. That means that we stand up to parents and other teachers who think that they can put us down because they have different beliefs than we do, or because they're jealous of what we're becoming.
Very good, very good. So you hear that our voices are very important, being heard from our individual perspectives. But I think also what I'm hearing from everybody is not just allowing people that are professionals or that are not necessarily living with autism every day to make all the decisions. We really want to be part of those decisions. Maybe not completely in charge of them all the time, right? We want to coexist with everybody and bring education, these people's background together with our experience, right? Is there anything else anyone wants to add before we move on to the next topic? All right. So then this kind of leads right into our second question, right? Which is, why is it important or needed? Even though we covered a little bit of that now, really think about, for you, what you think the most important thing is about self-advocacy and why we need it.
Well, first of all, one of the things that we need to realize too is, yes, we have autism, but it doesn't define who we are as a person. And it means too that we have civil rights, because where I work, the common chant is disability rights or civil rights. Well, guess what? autism is considered to be a disability. And especially in the case of autism, because there's just so many people that don't understand us and don't understand that we have different kinds of minds. And being me, I listen to a lot of Dr. Temple Grandin, and she's always pushing the people first motive, and so are my colleagues. So I think it's really important to put it out there that we're not crazy, or we're not off in our own worlds, or we don't all have a lack of empathy. So basically stamping out the ignorance and the stereotypes like that autism is a form of psychosis, like schizophrenia, and it is not.
Sunny, did you want to speak now?
Yeah, I was gonna say that self-advocacy is important and much needed, so that when we speak for ourselves, we show parents, teachers, and employers that we deserve real jobs, real education, and real lives, and get to experience things that everyone else gets to experience. And so it's important that disabled people speak out and speak up, so that changes in our community can be adjusted to meet our needs. And also that those at working at daycares know that their autistic kids are not crazy, they're just different.
Thank you. I'm sorry. The other thing.
Yeah, just sometimes.
Hold it close to your mouth. Is this on?
Yeah,
It's on.
just the closer, really close to your mouth.
Yeah, just sometimes self-advocacy for me.
A little closer.
Yeah, we can hear. Try again.
Okay. And self-advocacy is needed because a lot of people on the spectrum have more than just autism when it comes to diagnosis and stuff, and also to make sure that if you need to be on medication, that you're on the right kind of medication and the right dosage and everything else, and also that if you want to go to college, that you can advocate how you learn best, and stuff like that to people, and you can't get your needs met.
Well, I personally think autism self-advocacy is both important and necessary and I'll add an example from personal experience, is that when I was getting up and about in this community, first getting started, a lot of what I saw and read about was that people on the spectrum had to rely on other organizations and other people for assistance getting out into the world. But I became more aware that these such voices that were speaking for those of us on the spectrum were all neurotypically dominant, and therefore, in a lot of ways, insufficient, because a neurotypical, and I want no judgment, by the way. I'm trying not to put I'm fumbling my words a little bit, but anyway, a friend of mine, a friend of many of us here who is not with us today, couldn't make it today, says that if you want to understand a fish, you should ask a fish as opposed to just try to guess at the fish. So, but the point behind the analogy is that with self-advocacy, you want to be able to speak for what you want and what others who share your life experiences and your disability want, because at the end of the day, if you want something done, you're just going to have to do it yourself, because I simply got tired of waiting around for other people to change the course of history and to stack the cards in my favor. So I decided I'm going to take control of the deck and I'm going to stack them in my favor, and at least work at helping my friends here get that stacked in their favor as well.
Well, that was, wait, is this thing even on?
It really is.
Maybe we should try the mic, see if that works better.
Look, trust me, you might not hear it very well, but out there they can hear you much better with that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Close to your mouth. It really works.
That just sounded so wrong.
I think that went right over my head, personally.
I'm glad you did. Oh, that's better. Well, I don't really have the best way of topping that one. Good job, Sean. So, in my opinion, autism self-advocacy is needed for 4 key points or centerpieces: inspiration, motivation, education, and empowerment. Families need the inspiration to know that no matter, even if their children have autism, there's always hope for a future for their kids. The children with autism, or adults, they need the inspiration to know that other people have reached far ahead than where they are now, and that there is a chance for them to keep moving forward. Employment needs to know that if they are going to be hiring someone with autism, that they have a person with autism, that there will always be a much higher road to climb. The communities in which there are people with special needs like to know just how much a person with autism can give. Education. A person who is a self-advocate on autism can teach the school system how to best work communication-wise, behavior-wise with people with special needs. We are able to teach the parents how they can listen to their child. We are able to help the children with autism themselves in becoming self-advocates and learning the skills to grow. We are able to teach the employers just what we are capable of. Each of the people here have a unique skill of their own. And the communities and different resources themselves are able to learn. Motivation. As Sean put it so eloquently, you're not going to get everything done by waiting. Good things happen not to those who wait, but those who make things happen over time. We motivate the employers to start learning how to tap into our potential. We motivate parents to start looking for the resources. We motivate the educational system to start applying new tools, models, and approaches. And we educate people like you who are on the spectrum, that everything starts when you take that first step forward and keep on trying to push the limits of what you're capable of. Yeah, you'll make plenty of mistakes. And we as self-advocates are here to teach you that there's a light at the end of that tunnel. And finally, last but not least, the empowerment. By walking here before you today with all of our gifts, all of our travels, all of the amazing things we've done, now that you've learned what we've done to get to the point, and you can always ask people at a later point how they got there, but learning from each of us to build your own path. Teachers use the skills granted from different resource systems. Parents take ideas. The autistics take the experiences of others to build their own life. Those 4 key points are what lead us into the future and what will lead you into yours.
Very nice. I'd like to point out one thing too, as I'm standing here listening to everybody speak and talk about what it is that they believe autism advocacy is about. And I'm sorry I'm taking time to process, I'm sorry that. But that's something that people that are on the spectrum, including myself, feel like we have to do. We feel like we have to apologize to ourselves all the time because we're not able to function the way that society is built. So what we're asking society to do isn't really that much. Think about how many handicap parking spaces there are now, and how many handicap ramps there are. Not only people in wheelchair benefit from those ramps, people like my parents who are having trouble getting upstairs now as they're aging, they benefit from those ramps. Everybody has benefited from the things that we've done in society and that we've adjusted, but we had to talk to people in wheelchairs first. We had to include people with disabilities to understand what we need. And we had to get to a point where we didn't have to apologize for creating 3 or 4 parking spaces close to the building for somebody who needs them. That's, I think, what we're all trying to get to here, is that we want to be a part of building the society, not just have everyone accommodate for us, have us help build these new programs, and get to a point where we don't have to apologize for being ourselves. That's what I'm hearing. And I do want to get to, so what I'd like to actually do, the next question is very similar to the first 2 questions, but you're just getting deeper into detail, because the next one was what autism self-advocates are advocating for. And we've really covered that, so what I was kind of hoping we could do, and don't forget, we got your green cards if you want to answer, and your orange cards if you want to answer between some time, and your red card if you're just not interested in answering this one, so that'll help. I want you to really think about what you specifically are advocating for, you yourself, something that the program you're working on. And if you don't mind, you guys don't mind, and I'd like to do something a little different here. I know you are ready. If you're ready, might just give me a second. I'd like to do something a little different. Bennett, if you're up to it, would you mind telling people about the Autism Self-Advocacy Network and how important it is? Okay. Would you be okay with that?
Well, we're a group of autistic people who,
they can hear you. Good.
and we're working on a native learning. Remember, kids who are unloaded by caregivers, and also several other projects. We will announce later.
And it's an organization that's run by people on the spectrum,
Yes.
including the founder, right?
Yes.
So that's, I think, really important work, but then it's good here. If you didn't hear, when he said there's a Disability Day of Mourning that's coming up, an event, and do you guys have a website?
Yes.
Do you have a website? Could they get it? It's on Facebook. Okay, so then maybe they can get to you guys after the event and ask about your Day of Mourning?
If I might, it is also advertised on one of the handouts that Gregory and Madame Gosso put out.
Next to your pizza.
Yes, for us, it's going to be the first item on this sheet. Says summary of upcoming autism-related events in the Atlanta area for the spring 2006. But it'll be at the First Baptist Church of Decatur from 6 to 8 o'clock, same hours that this event is going on, really. So, yes, and a couple of us that on this table, at this table, will in fact be speaking at it.
So Sean, when we get to maybe you can add any extra detail that you want to about the important work you guys are doing.
Yes, definitely.
Maya's definitely been waiting for very patiently. I'm going to go ahead and let her answer what she's advocating.
Well, a few things. So, for those of you who don't know, again, I work at the Center for Leadership and Disability, and if you guys see these flyers, I have been involved in the planning committee for the statewide annual conference, and I've been bringing a lot of ideas to the table, and it was where I decided to get involved in the volunteer part of the conference, because I have a dream to see conferences stop having events just for professionals to go in and listen to experts and bash us on the head or bash us behind our back, and something that's really going to represent the autism and Georgia and the United States and the world, and something that's going to stand out, something that's going to shine. What other things do I advocate for? Myself. Like, as I was talking about, I had that friend who called me up and told me not to get involved with jury duty because A, I'm autistic, and B, because I talk too much and their parents think that I wouldn't be able to understand. So basically learning to stand up for myself and let people know, hey, just because I'm autistic, it doesn't mean I'm a doormat. And finally, in the past, I've had situations where I had job coaches who were nasty to me and looked at me like I was broken and thought I needed to be fixed. And being who I was, I contacted the DOL and I ended up having to put that job coach in her place because she was calling me names and saying whatever she felt like. So those are the kind of things that I advocate for.
Thank you very much, Maya. Sunny, are you ready?
Well, I am advocating for myself. I believe that we are also not only advocating for the ASD community, but also at large the whole disability community. Like public transportation in restaurants could be more accommodating to ASD individuals by hosting sensory-friendly events, and also including ramps and more space for people with trouble walking or wheelchairs. And I'm going to share a personal experience I had. I advocated for I'm going to advocate for ILPs and 504 plans in all public schools and private schools. This allows disabled students and people like me who are autistic more time on tests and assignments so that we don't get nervous and fail all because of a time limit. One personal experience I had at school was I used to fail a bunch of tests all because the time would run out and I couldn't finish the EOCT until I got a 504 plan for me. And, at my school they offered those anyway. The 504 plan gives students more time on tests and the EOCT so that the ticking time bomb doesn't scare us so much. Rather, it'd be better to focus on getting the best answers and answering the questions to the best of our abilities and making sure we arrive at the correct solution. And then also, since we have more trouble communication, unlike neurotypicals, someone has to tell us how to say what we want, and also, sometimes we have to get instructions because sometimes I struggle with knowing what I should say. So sometimes a little help is still needed, but we can still speak for ourselves. Thank you.
I think what you're saying is extremely important, and that is because you're talking about space and time. If you have something you want to say, but you need space and time to work it out so that you can say it. And a lot of the world is on a time clock in this rush, especially today, right? The internet and everything, it's all busy. Actually, today's school children have to process information at 10 times the rate that their parents did because of the speed of the information coming in. For people with a disability, especially for those of us that need time to process and think what we want to say, it's incredibly difficult. So that's space and time. And you benefited from people in the past advocating for those types of things.
Yeah, 504 plan.
Right, the 504 plan.
And also an ILP, which is similar, but it's an individual learning plan. And some students have that. And I went to Georgia Cyber Academy, an online K-12 charter public school. I know that's a mouthful.
It is, no, that's good. The options in schooling and plans, it's all really, really good stuff. Thank you so much for your time on that.
Right now, I'm advocating for myself. And like last year, for example, when both rehab was working with me very well, I talked to somebody at the Areya Autism Center, and apparently I opened my mouth up and found out that they need to get retrained apparently on how to handle people's situations and stuff right. And now that they got the training and stuff, everything's going better.
So you helped with training.
With my local book rehab office,
Right, that's awesome. That's really good too. Very good.
Right. So, to add to what my fellow self-advocates are advocating for, I myself am advocating, well, I'd like to advocate for a lot of things, really. For one, that one thing that was said by some of us here is that one of the biggest things we want to advocate for is not for us to have to, because one of the problems, sorry, I'm fumbling my words here, one of the issues that a lot of us are having is that we're having to try to adapt to society, but I say, and what I'm pretty sure a lot of us are saying here is that we want society to try and adapt for us as well. And that's one of the things I'd like to advocate for because society is already adapting for those who are blind, those who are deaf, those whom, what was the other one again? You mentioned, yes, wheelchairs, ADA, the Olmstead Act, etc. These are ways that society has adapted for those with disabilities, so we want to have society adapt a little further in that regard. Of course, we're gonna pull our own weight for sure. We're not asking for a hand out. We're asking for a helping hand. That's something I personally believe in. And another thing I advocate for is autistic leadership, especially in the disability community, because unfortunately there is an incredible deficit of autistic leadership in this community, and I feel that's something that is sorely needed in order for us to be properly represented. After all, that's one of the principles that this country was founded upon, because Americans didn't have representation when they were British colonies, so they had to stand up and earn the right to represent to themselves and say to the world that we are America. End of story. So that's what we're trying to do. Stand up and say we are people on the autism spectrum. We have autism. Get on this train.
Well, that was just fantastic. Well said, really.
Thank you.
So as we're all saying here, what we're trying to advocate for is improvement inside the communities, the school systems, the workplace, and families themselves. Change that is involving us, as is said by different special needs groups and the self-advocates, nothing about us without us. So whether it is involving change in the family mindset of how to cooperate with their child, as was discussed about the day of vigil, a lot of the loss of life in the special needs community is caused by parents who did not want to accept that there was hope, did not want to accept that they could be involved with their children and that there was so much light at the end of the tunnel. For the workforce, what we want to advocate isn't just saying, oh, they can do high-skilled work, but it's removing barriers and letting the communities know that there are benefits towards the community itself by investing in the people with special needs. Towards the school system, we want to see changes, not just for study techniques or tools, but also for the teachers, for therapists, for counselors, to be better educated on how to work with us when we're in the school system, and thus reduce the dropout rates, improve the graduation rates, and also improve the development, because there's two places where children with autism go to learn. They come to their house, or they go to school, and both places should be a more welcoming environment, which is why self-advocates will push for changes in those systems. Just as we would push for changes at the government legislature for, say, the public transit system. It's been a great help, but we could always do some more improvements. If something's good, you don't stop there. There's always going to be a push for more progress, but the trick is knowing how and connecting with different resources, as with the Atlanta Autism Consortium and so many other organizations here that have come together to gather knowledge, people to work with, and experience and understanding. We're all a huge community here in different forms. I'd say it's time to start taking the initiative for that.
Sean, do you want to add anything?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is. Another thing I want to add is that what I hope that we all, that us here are also advocating for is our right to be. As I was saying earlier, how I was saying that we're trying to make a statement that we are autistic, that this is where we're putting our foot in the ground, this is our line in the sand, etc., etc., etc. But another thing to add to that is that because there's talk about people that want to find a cure for autism, and some of us, a lot of us here, are saying, why would we want to be cured? We like who we are. Don't y'all like who we are?
We have our own perspective on
Yes,
life.
yes. Because there's a lot of great things that some of us, a lot of talents that some of us have, that some of, that, correct me if I'm wrong, other people just don't. I mean, we all have our unique little abilities, and so if you remove, so the thought that crosses my mind, if you remove the autism, then wouldn't you also remove that talent or special ability?
Wouldn't you also remove the ability to think independently from the norm? If someone wants to stop you from thinking like an autistic, what's to stop them from stopping you from thinking another way?
Exactly. So, long story short, we want to advocate for our right to be.
I think we have two other people that want to say something about this, and I want to point out too that I think it's important for you guys, if you can, to highlight the differences that it might be for women on the spectrum versus guys on the spectrum. Sonny's like ready.
Sunny side up.
So, is it on? Okay, there.
Hold it close, but not too close.
Okay. There's this myth that only males are affected by autism. The truth is, so are females, and the girls and women on this spectrum, well, there's about half of the autistic population are males and the other half are females, because half of the human race is male and the other half female. And I wish everyone knew that there are autistic women, me, Maya, Brittany, Laura, my mom, my grandmother, my other grandmother. I mean, and my grandmother was autistic and a doctor and a pediatrician. And anyway, so the point is, I wanted to, it's not just boys who are born autistic, but also girls. And
Alright, I've got both Brittany and Maya, so we can make it quick, right? So we can go on to the next one. I'm coming right back to you.
Well, since we're talking about women on the autism spectrum, one thing to know about us is, as girls, a lot of us are nerdy or geeky, or, we don't want to look like other women. We're interested in things that a lot of the neurotypical women are not. Like, they're interested in putting on makeup, and they're interested in talking about football or talking about home and garden. But, I mean, there are women on the spectrum that like football too, and I know that. But being who I am, I mean, I'm not one of those girly girl types. I tried it during my teen years, but it did not work. I'm more interested in animation, and I'm more interested in math, and I'm more interested in science, and I'm going off to major in physics.
We're not football guys either, by the way. The whole not football thing goes both ways.
According to statistics, for every 5 males, there is 1 female on the spectrum who is diagnosed. And for me, when it comes to being a female on the spectrum, a lot of the time I feel like I'm the only person in the room. Unlike tonight, who has autism. When I see more males with autism, and then also when it comes to being a female on the spectrum, it's harder for people to believe me as well. Like my professors at Georgia State, they weren't very helpful for me at all.
Well, it's important what you're saying, what you guys are all saying, right? And I understand what you're also bringing up about people not believing you. Actually, I just had a documentary that was finished about my work in music, and we submitted it to 3 film festivals. It was denied from all 3 film festivals. What? And in every case, you know what they said? We don't believe she's autistic. Because I don't look like the person that you think of when you're thinking about autism. I was also not diagnosed until I was 27 years old, and I'll be 39 on Sunday. So one of the things that's important about, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of you guys were all diagnosed young, correct?
I was diagnosed in elementary school.
Elementary school for you?
3.
2.
11.
7?
Wait, and re-diagnosed.
What about you guys, Sean and Aaron?
I didn't receive exact services until after I was 10, but I was diagnosed much earlier.
You were diagnosed early, and what about you, Sean?
14.
14? All right, so, and I was 27. And the reason I'm bringing that up for you guys is that for women, in particular, that are older than these guys, they're going to run into a lot of people that may not have gotten the benefit of the diagnosis. They have all the symptoms, they still need the supports and help. So all of the things that we're advocating for here is still going to help people that aren't officially diagnosed because it's making it a norm in society and making things available for everyone. You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
And so as we kind of push toward, and this is a really exciting topic for everybody. Everybody's really getting fired up, I can see here. So I think it's really going to waltz us right into our next question, which is how the community can support you. All of you are already transitioning into that beautifully on your own. We don't need any of my help. Have anything that you want to think about it? Okay. And Ben is going to be thinking about it. And thank you. I know that the cards really helped me because I don't have to read your faces. See, they took out the body language for me. I know, isn't it great? And what is up with the emoticons? Like a whole text of emoticons? Like we text because we don't like the body language. So, I have all these smiley faces and claps and everything else. So I'm going to start at this end of the table since that end wants to think, and we're going to be talking more about what you think society can do with this.
There's a variety on different levels for what society can do. Community, educational system, at home, and elsewhere. Let's start with the school system. By having teachers educated on special needs and how to approach them individually, and by educating students, not autistic students, but neurotypical, on how to interact with autistic students, we gain the opportunity for the people on the spectrum to make friends. And something I've learned when it came to therapy and care is that the best results for the individuals are obtained when a positive relationship is built with a mentor and friend. Now, for at home, parents, I know it's hard getting your ordinary kids to follow your instructions, so So I'm going to apologize because we may give you a little more difficulty, but at the end it's just more of a prize when you succeed. So bear with me on this one. Cooking and exercise. Really, believe it, by pushing the boundaries on progress and possibility, we're able to gain new skills and development. As both a cook and an exercise nut, I do bodybuilding every day. It's been amazing. You should try it. I found that the skills that are built through bodybuilding and the new skills and ideas built through cooking not only just help in your personal development, but give a really lovely spark of creativity. Now in the community, what types of community activities where you are can get your children, it can get the people on the spectrum to be involved in the community, find new interests, new activities to do, new people to talk with. It's all a matter of building that development, cultivating the desire for wanting more out of life than what you already have. If you are content to just stay where you are, nothing will change. Every step you take, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you're constantly moving forward into the future. And as long as you keep moving forward, encourage those people to keep moving forward. It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. That thing called progress and hope.
Actually, I thought you might like to know something, Aaron. There is a special knees hockey community in Alpharetta, and anybody, even if you can't walk, you're in a wheelchair, doesn't matter. They have sleds for those people. It's for 5:30 to 6:30 at the cooler in Alpharetta. So it's a great way to get exercise, and if you have spectrum children, then you're looking for something that you're
all
involved
about
in.
integration into neurotypical community.
Right.
Inclusion.
Right.
Inclusion.
And the people that are helping there are kids that are neurotypical, that are on hockey teams around town, and they come out on the ice, and some of these kids don't even know how to skate, and they spend time with them one-on-one teaching them how to skate. So it's a great opening, door opening.
Hey, so to add to how can the community support system help those of us on the spectrum become self-advocates? Well, empowerment, of course, is a big thing. Getting them to come to terms and accept who they are, which will also help your coming to terms and accepting who we are. So it's a two-way process there. Empowerment, like Aaron was saying, is always helpful, not just for themselves to get out and succeed, but for others like us to get out and succeed as well. And I seem to have lost track of what I was going to say about that. I had something really interesting to mention. I'll pass it along to Brittany for the moment, and I'll just come back to me if I recommend that. If I remember. I have one.
When it comes to self-advocacy, is first teaching us the skill of self-advocacy. A lot of people on the spectrum need to be taught this skill before they can go out and do self-advocacy.
And while Aaron was speaking, I thought of something. Like Brittany said, before we can become self-advocates, people have to give us instructions and guidelines, and teach us the skills of self-advocacy. Because, yeah, and what I was thinking is,
Were you going to think about giving guidelines to help in the development?
yeah. Now, parents, I know that you don't like hearing this all the time, but I believe that you should take to your autistic child's or children's interest, like mine would be anime, so for parents to actually participate in whatever they're interested in, rather than saying we're worried about you and it's not healthy. Say, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I should look into that. Oh, cool. Like, look into your child's interest, because those of us on the spectrum tend to have interests, like maybe few interests, like maybe 1 or 2 interests, and what, how, so also helping us to branch out. I mean, I know it might be difficult even to get your normal kids to pick different hobbies and interests, but if we can get autistic kids to branch out a little bit, but keep the hobbies and interests they already have and add new ones, is great. Like, another way to help community help ASD individuals become self-advocates is also like Eren was talking about. I'm just going to add something that encouraging us to try new things, and I know that even some normal kids, no judgment, but some tend to stay in cliques. I was just about to say neurotypicals tend to remain in cliques. So if you help us become self-advocates by also encouraging us to make new friends and connections and be interested in other people besides one little tight circle. Did everyone hear me? I just...
I heard you. We hear you.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we got this working again with your batteries.
We're back!
So, Sonny, if I may, I think what I'm hearing you say is that a few things that were really, really important. One was that it's not just a special interest, it's a talent. These things that we're interested in, and it could be opportunities for us to not only find work, but maybe even be self-employed with the right kind of supports and help, right? That's a big important thing. And the other thing that I thought was really important that you mentioned was, I lost it.
Well, because I know that neurotypical people, and especially kids, like to stay in a tight-knit circle or clique of friends, but if you could encourage us, help us to make new friends and reach out to our communities and, help us build those connections and relationships rather than staying in a close, tight circle of friends that we already know. Instead, we would be meeting other people.
So you're saying in addition to, not in replacement of, and
Yeah.
that was the other important part. So
I
we'll
just
let
wanted
Maya
to expand on that one quickly.
Okay, so Maya's been waiting. Let me get Maya, and then I'm going to come back and hit the other end of the table.
Okay, so we have a lot of really great points, and I'm going to connect them now with this idea. So, I outgrew the job coach situation years ago, and at the Center for Leadership and Disability, my job coach now is a mentor. And I really think it's very important to have a mentor in your life that's going to pull you to the side if you're going to have a meltdown or if you're going to break down because you don't understand something, because you didn't exactly, read the body language or understand why somebody told you no. So maybe a mentor, somebody that can talk to you gently, not somebody harsh that's going to scream no at you, somebody that can tell you in a nice way that isn't condescending or patronizing. A second thing I think we should do with these kids and adults is What about volunteering? Okay, you have a special interest. Let's say you're interested in bird watching, and at Zoo Atlanta, you would start out, working with the birds and the parakeets exhibits. You would start out doing clerical work, but then you could go off and work there. And another thing, if you want to get involved, what about getting involved in the astronomy club, or getting involved with the astronomy club, or fighting to get involved with helping at your church, or working at the daycare center, depending on at the astronomy, not like work pay, just that. Or let's say you have writing skills and you want to volunteer to write for the local paper, and then and you don't necessarily tell them that you're autistic. You show them your talent. You show them your work.
Really awesome. That's very good word. So it's an important thing that you're bringing up, right? This ability to not just have to participate in groups that are for people with disabilities, but to be able to do anything in society, and your mentor can just help you do that.
Yeah, you don't sell yourself, you sell your work.
Okay, I just now remembered what it is I wanted to say earlier. Another way that the community support system can help other individuals become self-advocates is inclusion and interaction. Of course, when I say inclusion, I'm saying, get them involved with other kids their age, both neurotypical and individuals on the spectrum. I myself am with a group of like-minded individuals on the spectrum, and we meet once a week during specific seasons of the year, and we talk about stuff. We share interests, etc. Well, that's one of the another things that I advocate for is peer interaction. It's good for those of us on the spectrum to meet other individuals that share the same thing. I mean, of course, and we also want inclusion as well, because we're going to have to get out in the world and interact with such people. But it's always good to have that kind of circle, as that kind of clique that Sunny was talking about, of those of us on the friends who are on the spectrum. You want to have that kind of circle of friends that'll be a lot easier to talk with than with neurotypicals. But that way you have a good way to keep yourself connected, and that way you always have friends. And the other thing is, I want to address those individuals who do not speak. I understand there are actually a couple of such individuals who don't speak in the audience today. I can't quite see where they are now, but I know. But there are ways for those who do not, on the spectrum, who do not speak to communicate. It's called the Rapid Prompting Method, or RPM for short. There is, for one, the Hirsch Academy where I work does RPM, and so if anybody wants any references to referrals to people who teach RPM, you can ask me. And there's another face that I see in the audience today that can also be a source of reference on that as well. So there are ways. Don't feel defeated at all because your child doesn't speak. There are ways. There's that light at the end of the tunnel, as Eren was talking about. Now I'll just hand it on to him.
I will, don't worry. Okay, so Sean and Sunny, Sunny, you definitely raised a strong point with the interests. So, and the willingness of neurotypicals to let an individual with autism into their groups. Something that parents and communities can do for the individuals on the spectrum is help them with practicing the conversation skills and expanding interests, so that when trying to let one of those small groups of tight-knit people, letting someone new in, one of the best ways is by having to understand their interest and being able to talk about it in conversations. Letting someone new who shares the interest is always a good way to build upon it.
That's enough for you?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for being patient and waiting your turn. I think, Bennett, you still have an orange card. Do you want to say something? Sure? You have time.
Yeah, plenty of
Oh, all right. So let me know if you change your mind. Okay. Happily, we have plenty of time. There's no rush at all. I would like to actually add something to this little conversation that's going here, because there's one thing that I have that these guys don't. I'm a parent. I'm a parent of a neurotypical child and a child on the spectrum. And where I often get left out on things is they'll have these events for parents only, and I don't get invited to those because I'm on the spectrum. And the parents want to get away from people that are on the spectrum, or they don't feel like they can be honest or say things in front of me. And so then I end up being one of those people that's isolated from all the groups. Then if I go to the groups of people that are on the spectrum, no offense guys, most of them are these guys' age. And I love you guys are awesome, but sometimes, you know, they don't know what it's like to have a 15-year-old at home and from the parent's perspective, and it would be nice to be able to talk to people. But I think that's what happens when we start dividing off into small groups. Instead of being inclusive, where everybody can be together and everyone can be honest together, right? We end up dividing up, and then a lot of people get left out. So I think we are coming up to that part where we're going to be able to let these guys ask questions if you guys are open for it. I think what we'd like to do is take questions from the audience.
So, hit us.
So one of the things that I would like to request, though, if you wouldn't mind, when you ask your question, if you could try to keep them from being multi-tiered. You know, asking 5 or 6 questions in a row is very difficult for those of us that have some language processing issues. So we just, what I mean by simplify is just keep it to one question, and then if you, after we move around the floor, if you have another one, you can ask. So we got one hand already up here. I'm going to move back here.
There's one over there as well, just so you know.
We'll get around this time. Thank you.
I guess what my question is, of the society, home, and government, what would be the most important one to focus on to essentially progress people like myself and a lot of us, I'm guessing a lot of us here that are on the spectrum into normal day life, and why?
Eren, Maya beat you, so I'm going to get her first, and then I'll come to you.
It's only fair, ladies first.
Okay. I guess that's a really hard question to answer, but it sounds like all 3 of those areas are really key. Because first of all, you are going to need people like your parents and these mentors, and even your friends who are going to only help you advocate and get ahead, you know, in order to succeed. But when it comes to things like getting people out of a group home, that's not so good for you. And because you've cleared for independence, but the judge says no, so that's when you want to go to the government. And then when I don't really know where to go with the parents, but I'll give you what I can, and I gave it my best shot.
First, before the question is answered, I've given some resource magazines which people may wish to take a look at in the table over there. You'll notice it's the one by my face on it, along with the business that was willing to hire people with special needs. One per family, please. There's enough to go around for everyone.
Did you autograph?
I was considering it, but then I thought, no, that might be a little too much arrogance on my part. I didn't want to give myself an inflated head. All right.
Honesty is a virtue!
Even if it's brutal honesty. So to answer the question, I would definitely say that it starts at the family. A family is both the teacher. A family is a community. A family is a resource connector. A family helps you understand the rules. So the education of the family, the inspiration and motivation of the family, especially if there are siblings and extended family members involved, is a very powerful place to start. Once the family helps you with the wings to fly and moving forward, then you can then go outside the family and into new areas with an expanded comfort zone.
Does anybody else want to answer that question? Any of the others that haven't spoken? Not yet? All right, so another question? I'll grab you and then I'll go over to you. Okay.
What do you know now about how to self-advocate and how to ask for your needs that you wish you had known earlier as a kid?
Okay, since we haven't heard from Brittany, I'd like to start with Brittany and Sunny and then we'll go. Super.
For me, when I was going to Georgia State, I wish I knew how I learned before I went there and did more research on colleges and picking out the right college, because I would have never been in a situation I was in and ended up failing out if I went to the right college.
Well, I wish that I would have known and what I would have told my 13-year-old self at the time was, don't be afraid of who you are, know who you are, and know what you want before you go to school or a job or go out there in the world, in the big wide world. Yeah. So, so know who you are, know what you want before you go out there.
Okay, what have I learned about self-advocacy? Well, first of all, the number one key thing to remember when you self-advocate is you're going to have to learn to agree to disagree. Self-advocacy comes with people who think we are the troublemakers because they like this perfect little world, or this perfect little bubble to remain the same all the time because it's what makes them feel good. And another thing I've learned to do when you advocate for yourself is you can be firm but gentle, or you can speak the truth in love. Like in my case, when I got that job coach in trouble years ago, I finally got fed up with the way she was talking to people, the way that she did things. And other people thought I was being, quote, actually I shouldn't say the B word because there are 2 kids in here. Other people thought I was being ugly to them. And in my mind, I didn't think I was being ugly at all. I was telling her what I thought and what needed to be said. Like, I told her several times not to stand so close to me, and she didn't listen. And I finally said the words, hey, don't touch me. And I finally went, which was on accident. And I said, well, I told you not to stand that close to me. It's part of autism. Yeah, okay, I'll remember that. So, yeah, you can't be, you have to remember, you're not a people pleaser. And you're not always going to make people happy. They're gonna often look at you like you're the monster, or you're the bad guy, or you're the one that needs to apologize, like this mom and this daughter that are picking on me because I want to serve on a jury.
Oh yeah, well, I might go off on a tangent here with this question because it's not necessarily what I wish I had known, but what I wish I had known that existed, if it existed at all. And basically, it's more or less all of the resources that I utilize in this day and age, I wish had been in play a whole 10 years ago, even before that, like perhaps when I was first diagnosed. I wish we had these resources back when I was diagnosed, so I kind of started advocating for myself earlier and getting involved, and that way I could have empowered myself and others to get to a better place than perhaps where some of us are today. And perhaps if I had had these resources and lived and experienced better things in these past 10 years that have already come and gone, maybe even now, at this point in time, had that transpired, changed history and all that, I could have been even at a better place, even at a higher place than where I am today. Even I could have perhaps maybe even, well, to borrow old movie quotes, I could have been a contender. No, just
Sure, I'd vote for you.
All right, I'd say I'd break the things I wish I had for self-advocacy that I could have known to my 13-year-old self back when I was starting middle school. I'd have to break it into 3 parts. For what first part, people like to think, oh, the person who's autistic must be broken, but I actually, and you can hate on me for this sounding pessimistic, we're all inherently flawed. Each of us has flaws within us. Perfection is a fleeting dream. You will never have true perfection. You will never have truly accomplishment or true satisfaction with everything in life. We can only keep on trying to improve and take satisfaction in accomplishments. So when someone kept on trying to think of me as broken or a freak or a disgrace to society, I remind them, you're not perfect yourself. You've got your own flaws. I wish I could have learned to see that rather than just taking everyone's insults. The next step, knowledge and pursuit of development. I was able to grow by seeking more, by seeking development, whether it was learning to cook, learning new things for the sake of communication. When I entered high school, when I finally, in my 5th year, wanted to be involved with the people in the cafeteria, I started learning a bit about sports and other activities, different things, just so I could have a chance of sitting in with people. Prior to the 5th year, I knew next to nothing about comics. Some people talked about the comic books. I learned about comics and tried researching everything as much as I could on the internet, just so I could take part in those conversations. And the more I was able to participate and learn and seek that development, the more I was able to grow. Now there's those 2. And the third part, when we feel like we're having trouble and we feel like it may be embarrassing to ask for help, one of the hardest things that I've learned was that we cannot do everything by ourselves and that we have to ask for help even in some of the most embarrassing things or the most normal things. Yeah, if you need help with what I'm saying, how many of you actually do your own hair rather than go to a hair oh my.
Put your hand down, Gregory. You barely have any hair.
I know, it's easy for me.
Well, that I didn't see coming. But for the most part, the main majority of society is willing to go to a hair barber and trust someone else with taking some really sharp blades and putting them to their head or their cheek, depending as if you get a shave there too, guys. But my point is, trust in others, seeking that development and learning. Because within the development, one of the things I managed to learn was how to walk the fine line between different perspectives. And that's something that's going to get easier and easier the more you develop and the more you learn to question everything around you. But really, there are actually people in this audience who do their own hair. You guys save a fortune every year, I assure you.
Well, we have 2 other questions. We want to make sure that we. Yeah, she's got her hand up.
Go to her first, please. I'd like to.
I got it, Sean. Thanks.
Okay.
So I would like to add something because I do know that you're trying to build a school too. Wow, this is going to be harder to say than I thought it was going to be. I wish I could go back and tell myself that it gets better. Not very long ago, I got an opportunity to listen to a group of my students perform music that I had written when I was alone when I was 14. And being able to stand in front of people and see something be realized in front of me, coming from a time where I thought I was so isolated that I would never be loved. So just being able to tell people it gets better. We're going to go to the next question.
Well, before I get to my question, I have served on a jury and I did totally fine. So, the question was regarding how you said that that your documentary was rejected because they said you didn't look autistic. what is an autistic person supposed to look like?
Exactly!
Yes, that's a good question. Well, you know, and I think all of the panelists will agree with me when I say this, that, you know, modern media has painted out what we think autism is supposed to look like, and there's a very, very narrow view of one specific part of the spectrum. But as you can see, there's a wide array of people in front of you today. We're all very, very different. And I think does anybody want to say anything about that? No. All right, so we're getting close on time, so keep it really short, okay?
Okay, so I don't really know how to answer that, but I can say this. I've had people ask me why in the world I qualify for paratrans, or why in the world I've been involved with a sheltered workshop, and say, you look just fine to me. Or other people that have tried to ask, well, do you have a social worker? I know you don't stay by yourself, do you? And I've just had to learn to tell them, hey, why are you judging me based on that? Why aren't you looking at me as a person? So, yeah.
He goes first.
Okay,
And then you can steal my thunder.
question. Okay, that was a very good question, by the way. Like, what are autistic people supposed to look like? There's a, you know, myth that media portrayals are accurate. What? Sorry, but well, you know, for instance, many people think I don't look autistic because of my YouTube channel and my ability to make videos that are scripted and, you know, edited before they are put, you know, uploaded to YouTube. And I guess some people, like, basically, autistic people don't have to look like anything, like, you know, I mean, we're all different. There's a saying, when you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, which means they're all different. And you can never tell that someone is autistic just by looking at them, because unfortunately for me, it's not obvious, clear to some people. Now, for some people, it's more obvious that it may be autism, causing them to do certain things, and other times it's not obvious at all. Like, I told someone I was autistic, and they told me that they would have never guessed. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. My employer at Hirsch has had this quote in her presentation that was spoken by Stephen Shore and others. Is that the quote reads, "If you've met one person with autism, you've just met one person with autism." So get rid of all get rid of this generalized image of autism right now. Get it out of your heads, because it's just one example. We are not all the same way. We're not all like worse than cancer, diabetes, or heart disease combined. I know a person who has diabetes who can tell you that, by the way. And we are not the death of marriages either, Alfonso Cuarón. So throw out that generalized image out of your brains right now, because that does not exist. And the time that it did exist, if ever at all, is long past.
It's over.
So, yes, get with it or get off the train. All right. So
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
I have two ways of dealing it. The first is a form of witty retorts. First you can say, I don't look autistic. Well, you don't look normal to me. And if they try to defend themselves by saying, I look normal, you can always ask them, what does it mean to look normal? Of course, if you really want to be mean and nasty, and I hate to channel my father on this, you can always tell the person, I don't look autistic. That doesn't look like a natural hair color. Are you using dye?
Do you have extensions? Or what's an autistic supposed to look like? Little green men from Mars?
I wasn't trying to be really creative with that, but that works too. Of course, the alternative, if you want to be educational and help educate the ignorant, we can say, did Albert Einstein or or Amadeus Mozart look autistic? Did Jerry Seinfeld look autistic?
Temple Grandin look autistic.
I'm not sure they're familiar with who she is. Brilliant a woman as she is, many intelligent women tend to be swept under the rug by modern media, sadly.
That's just wrong.
Yes.
Welcome to society.
I believe that reason is called sexism.
Yes, that's a lifelong trait.
Here's another example, is Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd is autistic.
Daryl Hannah.
People will not
She's
know
another
who
one
that
that's swept under the
A
rug.
lot of people will if you're a little older, like some of us.
She was in that movie.
We have a lot of questions going up, and I think we have to clear the room in 5 minutes, so.
But we were having so much fun.
I'm having fun, we can do this all night, so I'm gonna try to get the back, okay guys?
Your documentary.
Oh, my documentary, yeah, actually we're trying to work on an Atlanta screening right now, so that we can start drumming up support in the community, since the festivals don't seem to be interested. Just fine by me, I haven't done anything by asking anyone for help, so.
You can get on the AC list and we will advertise it.
Okay.
Okay? So you have my email at the bottom of the handout. Okay, you have my email. You can email me. I can add you onto the list that we have of all the members of the AAC. And we send regularly emails about events, about whatever. Okay? And if you have stuff you want us to spread, well, we try our best. Okay? And spread it. Yeah.
Don't give me
My question is, where do you see the most positive gains being made for people on the spectrum?
Good idea.
And I'm going to urge my fellow self-advocates to be really careful about mentioning specific names of organizations they don't like. Just saying. I know it's going to be really hard to avoid it on this one. They want to know what they want to know what you think is making the most change. Okay.
Not by organization, but by a method, procedure, process.
Let's see, what's making the most change? I don't think it's really Autism Speaks. I think it's individuals on the spectrum as a whole.
We just said not to imply, assume, or talk about any organizations in general. We're talking about processes, ideas, or people.
I suppose it's unavoidable, though.
I'm saying it, and I'm not trying to put Autism Speaks down. I'm saying it's us as a whole. It's our experiences that change the world.
There we go. See, that's how you gotta do it. You just find the creative language, and Sunny's going crazy over here. I think she's ready to go.
One question though, are we allowed to mention like movements that we like? Okay, good. You see, one thing for all of us to do is to be very, very positive. And there's this movement, a website and YouTube channel called More Than Ordinary. And I encourage everybody on the autism spectrum to make just a general 3 to 5 minute video, introduce yourself, talk about your disability or diagnosis, talk about the advantages, and the most important thing is talk about how love and acceptance makes you feel, and at the end, say, I am, your name, and say, I am more than ordinary. I made one.
And it was impressive.
But so did Eren.
And I just put mine up. Oh yeah.
I need to see that too.
I just put mine up. I still haven't heard from them, but I posted it 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So, one of the other things that I think is brings out the most positive change, I think, is what was the question? That was the question, right? Yeah. For one thing, to sum it all up, is actual autistic individuals, I think. Because I've heard it said from my employer that those of us on the spectrum are the real experts. So, let us have some words, please, and listen to us.
Actually,
Like I said, remember the little analogy I mentioned about the fish?
All right, so we'll wrap this up by saying, what, in my opinion, what the positive progress is when we are willing to listen to the ideas of people who have some good ideas for positive development and are willing to take the time and effort to help us. When it goes both ways, when my hand is joined with the hand of a neurotypical who's trying to help me and I trying to help them, the whole community coming together. As Sean was talking about the one with the fish, it takes a village to raise a child. The community is there to help, and we just need to listen.
I think one thing that everyone's learned tonight is that if the autistic community isn't being heard, it's not because they're not well spoken. It's because they're being silenced, right? So we really need to walk away from this learning. I want to thank, actually, and I think all of us do, the AAC for giving us an opportunity to speak. They went out of their way to make this happen to us, and I would.
They brought us pizza. Like nothing else, please applaud for Greg for the pizza, please.
We managed to make it almost 8 o'clock before we mentioned anything we didn't like, so that I thought we did really, really well today. I want to thank the panelists. Panelists were awesome tonight, and everybody for the time, and thank you so much for your.
I want to say
have a great